This is one fact for every character from Family Guy, starting with everyone's favorite ladies' man, Glenn Quagmire. With a body count of over 1,000 women, Quagmire has certainly made his way around town, and that includes his best friend's wives. That's right, Quagmire has slept with each of the guy's partners. In an alternate future where Peter and Lois don't end up together, Quagmire quickly steals Lois's heart.
Let's go play schoolgirl and guy who has sex with schoolgirl.
And together they make some truly nightmarish children. And in another episode where everyone thought the world was about to end, Quagmire tricks Joe into letting him get it on with Bonnie.
I don't want to die of help me, please. Let me have with Bonnie.
Really? That's on Joe for falling for the most obvious lie of the century. The least Quagmire could do is be thankful for Joe's stupidity.
Screw you!
But Cleveland holds the award for the one that Quagmire's betrayed the most, as he slept with 2 of Cleveland's partners. First, his former wife Loretta.
What was that?
Shut up and put some more of that sugar in my bowl.
And second, Cleveland's girlfriend at the time, Carolyn.
Carolyn? Quagmire?
Cleveland, close the window. You're letting the stank out.
The fact the guys haven't banded together to beat this man with hammers is beyond me. Now let's look on the other side of the street to the home of Joe Swanson. The paraplegic cop seamlessly fits into the friend group of himself, Peter, Quagmire, and Cleveland, though Joe is the only one out of that group to not appear in the show's first episode. While not named, Quagmire gets a brief speaking role in the episode.
Hey, who wants to play Drink the Beer?
Right here.
And while Cleveland doesn't have a speaking role, he does appear amongst the court attendees for Peter's trial. And instead of keeping these colorful characters around, the show decided to introduce Joe in the 5th episode of season 1, A Hero Sits Next Door.
You must be Peter. Joe Swanson.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Phil.
And the rest is history. Joe found some friends who also doubled as chronic headache makers. But you can't have Joe without his wife Bonnie, who may not have actually been named Bonnie during the whole show. In production, she was first referred to as Debbie, though her name was switched to Bonnie before her first appearance in A Hero Sits Next Door.
With number 2 on the way, Joe thought it was time to move, and I can't say no to Joe.
But I guess she can say no to auburn hair, as that also changed and became black for the rest of the series. Anyway, there are still hints of Bonnie's original name that have trickled into the show. When season 1 was released in the UK, the description for the first episode allegedly referred to Bonnie as Debbie. But she was even called Debbie in the show once in the episode Love Thy Trophy.
When I get him home, I swear to God, I'm gonna grease up
That's fine, Debbie.
According to Lois's voice actor, Alex Borstein, this was a slip-up she made that nobody seemed to catch. Could you imagine if this happened now? Someone would be writing the dumbest hour-long analysis video you've ever heard on it. But there's not really too much to say about their son, Kevin Swanson, who is thought to have died in Iraq, but actually went AWOL. In the earlier seasons, Kevin was yet another voice provided by Seth MacFarlane, but since his return in the season 10 episode Thanksgiving, he's been voiced by Scott Grimes, who also voices Steve Smith in American Dad.
I guess we got some catching up to do, huh? Hope you don't get scared when I scream and have night terrors.
Hopefully the show won't waste Grimes' talents and give Kevin a power ballad or two.
Dad is gone, and we're not going home.
His younger sister Susie is a bit more interesting, as Bonnie's pregnancy was one of her defining traits for several seasons. From Bonnie's first appearance in season 1 to Susie's eventual birth in season 7, Bonnie carried Susie for at least 7 years. But it's not like Family Guy gives a damn about the passage of time.
Bonnie, you've been pregnant for like 6 years, all right? Either have the baby or don't.
Now, I'm no medical professional, but since they acknowledge it, would this mean Susie is technically like 6 or 7 years old? I mean, she does have a mature inner voice to suit that age.
This is Patrick Stewart. How are you liking the program so far?
And as we cross the street again, we take a look at the Brown family, starting with the slow-talking patriarch, Cleveland. He holds the record for going the longest before his voice actor was changed. From season 1 through the Cleveland show and even to the end of season 18, Cleveland was voiced by Mike Henry.
Just spread them out. Don't make any one room too giraffe.
But come season 19, Henry stepped down from the role and was replaced by Arif Zahir, though some of Henry's lines could still be heard in holdover episodes from the previous season.
This is terrible. I have such a hard time saying goodbye.
It's safe to say Zahir got the role after years of doing impressions on his YouTube channel, Azers.
It took almost 400 years for a black character to have his own sitcom, The Proud Family. Let me do my thing.
Don't ever let them tell you trolling on Call of Duty won't lead to career opportunities. And Cleveland's had 2 wives in the show's 25 years, so let's start with looking at his first wife, Loretta. Cleveland and Loretta would divorce in the season 4 episode The Cleveland-Loretta Quagmire, with her only having a handful of appearances on the show after that until she was killed off in the Cleveland show episode Gone with the Wind.
No, 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 no!
Oh, God!
Well, at least they gave her a tasteful death. While some may assume the writers just had nowhere else to take this character, her exit from the show was largely the request of Loretta's voice actor, Alex Borstein, who found the character's voice to be too demanding on her throat. A terrible day for all three of those Loretta Brown fanboys out there. But even before Loretta's death, Cleveland found himself a new wife in Donna Tubbs, who he reconnected with when he moved back to Virginia. The two went from high school friends to lovers, though Cleveland didn't seem to know the real Donna. It turns out Donna wears a wig, has drawn-on eyebrows and lips, and pads her bra.
And do you really think a woman who's breastfed 2 kids can still be this perky? Please!
Technically, everything is drawn on her considering she's a cartoon character, but her honesty is still pretty admirable. And though Cleveland has had the same son this entire time, Cleveland Jr. has gone through quite the dramatic change in appearance. From season 2 to season 4, Jr. is portrayed as a hyperactive, energetic kid.
Fat boy smelled a hot dog. Couldn't help it. We're right in.
But Jr. would be largely absent from the show for 4 seasons until he and Cleveland left Quahog for the Cleveland show. But now he featured a much rounder, much more lethargic appearance.
Dad, when am I gonna get hair around my grit?
Oh yeah, he would also start getting uncomfortably close with his father around this time. So there are 2 possibilities for Junior's sudden change in character. An animatic for season 7's episode Love Actually shows Junior in his new appearance, with the reasoning being that it was a side effect of his Ritalin prescription, which is a mood-stabilizing medication. However, this scene ultimately wasn't used in the final product. But the Cleveland show presents a different theory, with the current Junior being a secret agent who killed the original Junior.
I'm Tiger Woods. I'm Tiger Woods.
Though the episode hints this could have all been a dream, I'll leave it up to you to decide on your own headcanon. And when Cleveland married Donna, he gained 2 stepchildren. The eldest is Donna's daughter Roberta, who since moving to Quahog and joining the Family Guy cast has not had a single line of dialogue in the 10 seasons she's been present. She didn't even appear in the season 8 episode The Splendid Source, where the gang happens to visit Stoolbend in Cleveland's new life.
Somebody colored in your Jesus.
Somebody colored in your ass with too much ass, fat ass.
Donna Jr. and Rollo all make a speaking appearance, but not Roberta. Typical teenagers being too cool for a cameo appearance. Truthfully, Roberta would be used less and less in her own show, as her voice actor Reagan Gomez was pregnant during the productions of seasons 2 and 3. Maybe pregnancy made it too hard to sound like an uncaring teen. But Roberta's younger brother Rollo would get a little extra playtime on Family Guy, but not by much. Before Cleveland moved back to Quahog, Rollo did earn himself a cameo in Family Guy's final Star Wars parody, It's a Trap, portraying Nine Numb. I'm sure that was a huge honor.
The shield may be down, but they've gone into glitter ball mode.
Once the Browns did move to Quahog, Rollo would only speak in that initial episode.
Sup, man?
Yeah, sup. Keep walking, you boondocks ripoff.
Rollo must have taken that to heart, because after that episode, he hasn't said a single word in the following 10 seasons. Stewie must have really cornered the market on talking baby characters. But let's take a look at the bigger world of Quahog outside Spooner Street, starting with our former beloved mayor, Adam West. Next to his role as the quirky, irresponsible mayor, Adam West is perhaps best known as the actor behind Batman from 1966 to 1968 and in various reprisals later on.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
But while the worlds of Batman and mayoring hardly ever cross paths on Family Guy, they did coalesce when West would portray Mayor Marion Grange in the 2004 series The Batman.
Then how do you justify what you did to 3 of Gotham PD's finest today?
If I had a nickel for every time Adam West played an animated mayor, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice, right? Next up is Dr. Hartman, the Griffin family's primary physician. Which is unfortunate because this guy isn't the best at what he does.
Nurse, who's the worst doctor in this hospital?
You are, Dr. Hartman.
Good, put Hartman on this bozo.
And if you've watched a lot of animation and the name Hartman sounds familiar, well, there's a good reason for that. Dr. Elmer Hartman is named after Seth MacFarlane's good friend and fellow animator, Butch Hartman. If you were a child of the 2000s, you'll recognize Hartman's works in his shows The Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. Hartman even voices a doctor character in the former Dr. Rip Studwell. And it all comes full circle. But he's not the only character in the medical field as we move on to Mort Goldman, the neurotic owner of Goldman's Pharmacy. Mort's voiced by John G. Brennan, also known as Johnny B., one half of the New York-based prank call comedy duo, the Jerky Boys. And one of Brennan's recurring characters, Saul Rosenberg, sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah, but he's an I couldn't see so good from the Empire State Building.
What a career trajectory. One day you're wasting people's time doing funny voices, the next you're a regular on a hit show. Now that's the dream.
Thank you very much.
As for his late wife Muriel, well, there's honestly not too much to talk about. She is technically the aunt of a famous actress.
Peter, this is our niece, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Nice to meet you.
All right, I'm getting up.
and that's about as good as it gets with Muriel. Other than that, she's a great substitute for a knife block, but she is the mother of Neil Goldman, who's in Meg's grade and constantly pines over her.
You rejected me too many times, Meg. I couldn't wait for you forever.
Even though he obviously takes his last name from his parents, his name actually goes a bit deeper. In truth, he shares the same name as an early writer for Family Guy named, you guessed it, Neil Goldman. Goldman was a co-writer on classic episodes like Da Boom, Running Mates, Mind Over Murder, and E. Peter Unum. I guess it's no wonder that Neil's drawn to being an editor for the school paper.
You never seem to be that interested in journalism, or journalists, such as myself.
And for all your breaking news needs, you can rely on Tom Tucker to give you the story. Tom's yet another name on the long list of characters voiced by series creator Seth MacFarlane.
Good morning, I'm Tom Tucker. Coming up, the secret to remaining upbeat after getting an elderly waitress.
But this may be one of MacFarlane's least popular voices, as he once revealed on a Facebook Q&A that Tom Tucker was the voice fans requested he do the least. I guess everyone must always be asking for that iconic Jasper voice instead. Tom's former broadcast partner Diane Simmons is up next. Although she was present on the show for 9 seasons, she didn't have a ton of memorable moments. That is until she became the main antagonist of the premiere episode of season 9, and then there were fewer. Although Diane doesn't possess the same extensive body count as characters like Stewie or Peter, she does hold the distinction of having killed the most named characters on the show. These include Quagmire's date Stephanie,
Did the cork hit me?
actor James Woods,
Look!
co-owner of Goldman's Pharmacy, Muriel Goldman,
Oh my God!
Julian's husband, Derek Wilcox,
Dear God!
and James Woods' girlfriend, Priscilla. Unfortunately, we can never forgive Diane for robbing us of all the potentially amazing Muriel and Derek episodes we could have gotten. Diane's replacement would come in the form of Joyce Kinney. Joyce's hiring is a bit ironic, considering the reason why Diane went on her murderous rampage in the first place.
Tom began pushing Channel 5 News to replace me with a fresh young face.
When she turned 40, Diane believed she would be phased out. Surely the old dinosaur could have enjoyed retirement. But what's funny is that Joyce may actually be older than Diane. In season 9's And I'm Joyce Kinney, it's revealed that Lois and Joyce went to high school together.
We went to high school together, Lois. Chemistry class, freshman year, Joycey.
And with Lois's last reported age being 42, that means Joyce would have had to have been around the same age. Well, hopefully Diane can see the funny side of this from all the way down there. And now for the weather, we go to Ollie Williams. How's it looking out there, Ollie?
It's gonna rain!
Thanks, Ollie. These are pretty much the extent of his scenes on the show, quick bursts of yelling about stuff. But it didn't always used to be like this, as Ollie's manner of speech appears to be a product of his alcoholism.
This poor gentleman used to speak in long, eloquent sentences, but after years of drinking, he can only speak in short, choppy utterances.
I would have liked to see that. Ollie seems like a man of culture. Rounding out the Channel 5 news team is Asian reporter Trisha Takanawa. I don't think that's actually a legitimate title, but that's how she's typically introduced on her breaking news bulletins. Anyways, while Trisha is usually pretty monotone and composed in her delivery, she does have a weakness for her celebrity crush David Bowie.
Oh, make love to me, Ziggy Stardust. I take you home. I make you fish ball soup.
Always nice to see the writers handle other ethnicities with the utmost respect and quality. Next up is Peter's most consistent enemy, Ernie, aka the Giant Chicken. Most of the two's interactions go about the same way.
Oh, crap.
Their encounters are usually long and violent and tend to result in millions in property damage. They're so entertaining that you kind of forget that these scenes feel like padding to make shorter episodes longer. But their rivalry was almost cut short in the season 10 episode Internal Affairs. According to the DVD commentary for the season 13 episode The Simpsons Guy, Seth MacFarlane wanted this fight to result in Ernie's death, but was talked out of this decision by Family Guy's supervising director, Peter Shin. This was done so the chicken could be included in the eventual Family Guy movie they were developing. It's a hell of a battle, but as we see by the end, Ernie lives to fight another day. That's all well and good, but what's the status of that movie? My guess is it's just going to be an hour-and-a-half Conway Twitty concert. And if they do ever do that movie, then they better include Consuela, our favorite maid whose only hobby is telling people no.
No.
But Consuela has the unique distinction of being a character that originated in a cutaway before becoming a mainstay character. Her first appearance was in the season 6 episode Believe It or Not, Joe's Walking on Air.
And what exactly are your demands?
We need more lemon pledge.
Hopefully she can get to LPA to help with her addiction to that stuff. What, you haven't heard of Lemon Pledge Anonymous? But Consuela escapes cutaway land and makes it into the main world of the show when she briefly becomes the Griffin's household maid.
Here's $40 if you leave right now.
No, I stay.
A haggling expert, that one. And from there, Consuela stayed a somewhat prominent character, bringing her light dusting skills to the world of Quahog. And another hardworking citizen of Quahog is Bruce. I'm not sure if this guy just can't hold down a job or just really likes to work, because he sure does switch occupations a lot. Bruce has held at least 14 jobs over the course of the series, and I guess I gotta name all of them. He's worked as the clerk of a Halloween store, a CPR teacher, a psychic medium, a priest, a hypnotherapist, a masseuse, both a bowling alley shoe counterman and snack bar attendee, a referee, a laser tag operator, a production assistant on an adult film set, waste management duty, and a couples counselor. I would not envy this man when it comes time to file his taxes.
I'm still sober. This ain't cheating.
But everyone's favorite neighborhood creep, John Herbert, is up next. Herbert's mostly known for flirting with Chris at every chance he gets, most notably when Chris used to deliver newspapers to him.
That's a nice muscly throwing on you got there.
Thanks.
And while Herbert remained the inspiration for the phrase stranger danger for the rest of the series, the role he played in Chris's life was almost slightly different. According to the DVD commentary for Herbert's debut episode, To Love and Die in Dixie, the old man was originally going to play the role of a bus driver Chris would get weirded out by and try to avoid any way he could. I guess the idea of giving this guy easy access to a busload of children probably wasn't the right call, so the writers decided to just let Herbert long for Chris from afar.
Get your fat ass back here.
From one old guy to the next, we move on to the salty sea dog made of sandalwood, Seamus. Despite possessing no hands or fingers, Seamus doesn't let his disability get in the way of him doing normal things, like writing, dating, and owning a phone. Speaking of that last one, we actually learned Seamus' full phone number in the season 16 episode Follow the Money when Seamus tries to take Meg out on a date. A real pulling names out of a hat pairing from the writers here.
If you're ever free, here's me number.
His number is 917-555-0112. Now, what's a Rhode Island-based sailor doing with a New York City area code? What's interesting is that Peter has almost the exact same phone number, though no area code is given, but we could assume that means he has the 401 Rhode Island area code. And if you're wondering, no, nothing cool happens when you call those numbers, unfortunately. Phone numbers with 555 are unassigned by the North American Numbering Plan Administration, so it's not uncommon for movies and TV shows to use similar phone numbers for their characters. Still, now I'm dying to know all about Seamus' former life as an NYC borough dweller.
How the hell are you alive?
And although he doesn't appear too often in the show nowadays, the Evil Monkey is such an iconic part of Family Guy's history that we couldn't possibly forget about him. He spent most of his time angrily pointing at Chris until the pair later became friends after clearing up some misunderstandings about the monkey.
Friendship is the best thing ever, except for best friendship, which is a little better.
But I guess not too close of friends, because Chris, and by extension us, never learned the monkey's real name. But according to the DVD commentary for the season 8 episode Hannah Banana, writer for the show and voice actor behind the monkey, Danny Smith, really wanted to name the monkey Gunner. Unfortunately for Smith, the writing team stated they couldn't take the name seriously and rejected it. Props to him for thinking outside the monkey barrel, though.
I'd get up to hug you, but sitting down's the only thing keeping the poop in.
Nah, that's okay.
So Evil Monkey he remained. But it's not the worst thing to only be known as your species with an adjective in front. It's worked out pretty well for me so far. And speaking of iconic but lesser used characters, who remembers the greased up deaf guy? Like the monkey, he's exactly what his name implies him to be.
You're never gonna catch me. You're wasting your time. Forget about it.
But this guy wasn't always the slick, hard-of-hearing character we've grown to know and love. As seen in reverse in the season 11 episode Yug Yillamaf, he was just an ordinary guy before a tragic accident.
The grease burns so bad, I can't hear.
Boy, I am late for that meeting.
Normally, a freak accident like this would have turned him into some kind of superhero, but he really got the short end of the greased-up stick here. And next up is the principal of Adam West High, formerly known as James Woods High, Principal Shepard. This guy does not have the best luck with relationships, having been divorced at least 3 times over the course of the show. We hear of his first divorce from a woman named Lorraine in season 15's The Peter Principal,
which also happens to be where Lorraine has threatened to take my children across the country.
And he's seen arguing with another ex-wife, Fiona, in season 16's Crimes and Meg's Demeanor, who Brian thinks Shepard ended up killing.
I didn't kill my wife. She just texted me today that she's moved out and she's banging my cousin.
And finally, his latest ex-wife in season 21's White Meg Can't Jump even wins the last word of the episode from their divorce proceedings.
I'm Felicia Leggett Shepard, and I won this voiceover in the divorce.
Well, you know what they say. 4th time's the charm. And sticking with the high school, let's look at its most popular student, Connie D'Amico. The bane of Meg's high school experience doesn't have much to uncover underneath her mean girl shtick, but she did almost go by a different name in the show.
Don't ever listen to me talk. You don't deserve my words.
According to the DVD commentary for the season 5 episode Barely Legal, Connie's original last name was going to be Mercedes. This was later changed to D'Amico as writer Danny Smith saw that Meg's voice actor Mila Kunis had trouble pronouncing the name consistently, so they made it slightly easier for her. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
You want my help? You can go yourself.
And next up is Death, the shrouded skeleton responsible for the death of everybody in human history. You'd have thought the police would have done something about a guy going around killing everyone, right?
You just kind of fell into this gig? You know, I really wanted to be a wood nymph.
Well, while Death isn't the biggest fan of his own work, he almost landed the role of a lifetime in Family Guy's Star Wars parodies. According to bonus content on the DVD for Something 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 Dark Side, Death was originally penciled in to play the role of the Emperor. I can kind of see it, what with the black cloak and all, but when it came time to write the final episode in the trilogy, It's a Trap, the writers realized Carter Pewterschmidt would be a much better fit and scrapped Death from the specials altogether.
Look at the crappy job your friends are doing.
But Carter is getting pretty old, so Death may have his revenge soon enough. And following him up is Jerome, who was meant to be Cleveland's replacement after he left for his own show. There isn't too much to know about Jerome, but apparently he's a bronze medalist in track and field from the 1984 Olympics. I bet that's quite the story.
How much time you got?
We got about 7 minutes and I haven't gone yet. Rocky.
So I guess we'll never know, but hopefully the show will give its smoothest character the spotlight again one day. And Quagmire's dad, who became his second mom, Ida Davis, is up next. Before the transition, Ida was known as Daniel Dan Quagmire, a decorated Vietnam pilot and war hero.
Look at you, you're a chow hound, aren't you, Pete?
According to the DVD commentary of Quagmire's Quagmire, the design for the character was greatly influenced by the look of English actor Paul Bettany, who you may know as Jarvis and eventually Vision from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I guess they also thought Bettany would look good as a woman with blonde hair. Just something for Paul to keep in mind if he ever wants to mix it up, I guess. Next up is Jillian Russell Wilcox, Brian's one-time girlfriend who's a bit on the slow side.
It's good, right? I just wish they didn't have to kill so many lemons to make it.
It's like there's one of those symbol monkeys up in that brain of hers. She only stays with Brian for about 1 season before they break up, with Jillian eventually marrying a man named Derek Wilcox.
I'm sorry, but I'm in love with Derek now.
Derek is unfortunately killed in season 9's And Then There Were Fewer, but the extended cut of that episode reveals that Derek didn't completely leave Jillian on her own.
It's too dangerous, especially with Derek Jr. on the way.
So apparently Jillian was supposed to be pregnant, but I guess they decided to cut that out of the episode so it wouldn't have to be followed up on. There's only room for one baby brain in the household, and her name is Jillian. And if you were ever wondering about the judge character that's always presiding over the court cases in Quahog, well, he has a pretty on-the-nose name.
Court is now in session. Judge Dignified Q. Blackman presiding.
Well, with a name like that, I gotta know what the Q stands for. It also makes me wonder what the other judge in Quahog's name is, mostly because he looks exactly like this judge, only he's white.
So you are free to go.
Straight to jail.
Was this a simple mix-up, or is this actually supposed to be another judge? We may never know, but for now, I guess we'll just refer to him as Judge Honorable T. Whiteman. Next up is one of the show's most persistent antagonists, James Woods. Modeled after and voiced by the real-life actor, Woods is so persistent that he actually rose from his grave to continue making life a living hell for others.
And in accordance with Hollywood law, her life force was infused into me, bringing me back from the dead.
To date, Woods is the only character that has been killed off as part of a story and was brought back later down the line. Brian comes close, but his death was technically prevented rather than reversed. Yeah, it comes down to semantics, but it's my list. You can send your complaints to my agent, but someone who didn't come back is Angela, which makes total sense as her voice actor Carrie Fisher sadly passed away in 2016. Fisher was perhaps most well known for her portrayal of Princess Leia in the Star Wars franchise, but through Angela, she portrayed another lesser-known Star Wars character named Mon Mothma in the third Star Wars parody episode, It's a Trap.
The Emperor has made a critical error, and the time for our attack has come.
This gives Fisher the unique distinction of being one of the only voice actors on Family Guy to have portrayed two different Star Wars characters. This distinction also goes to Mark Hamill, who voiced the character he made famous, Luke Skywalker, as well as his mentor Obi-Wan Kenobi in a short cutaway.
Luke, use the Force.
Really? Because I was just gonna
use the Force.
Okay.
And Angela's favorite employee, Opie, is next up. Opie is... well, he has such a way with words. But much like Ollie Williams, this pattern of speech is directly linked to the amount of alcohol he consumes, as seen when the town briefly raises the drinking age to 50.
And I'm actually thinking about resuming my actuarial practice.
Oh my god, he's just been drunk this whole time?
And Peter thought he was the biggest drunk at the brewery. He's gonna have to get those numbers up. For the longest time, Jeffrey was Bruce's boyfriend who was only ever heard and not seen.
That killer baby from the trial's gone missing. Oh no. I know.
First being heard in season 6, Jeffrey technically wouldn't be seen until season 12, though he's only officially identified in season 14.
Bruce? Jeffrey?
That's right, Mr. Mayor. I needs my Prosecco's.
This gives Jeffrey the unique distinction of a character that has been in the show but wasn't physically seen until 6 seasons after his debut. And to that I say, oh wow. But let's look at a character who we rarely hear from, Stewie's trusted stuffed confidant, Rupert. Stewie and Rupert's relationship goes a lot deeper than just attraction, but most of the time Stewie's seen fantasizing about Rupert being the big strong man of his dreams.
I never knew there could be such a thing as a perfect day.
Don't frolic too much, Rupert.
But if you were to ask Rupert himself, the relationship seems a bit one-sided.
Hey, everybody, just so you know, I'm straight.
It seems like the baby and the bear need to have a very grown-up conversation about their relationship going forward.